Texas at Texas A&M, the one we've all been waiting for. Texas right now, a narrow 6-point favorite on the road from Kyle Field. The total in the upper 40s. This game's Saturday, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. The stakes could not be any bigger. Texas at Texas A&M, first time playing since 2011. They met every single year from 1915 to 2011. The Aggies moved to the SEC. Sayonara rivalry. We haven't seen you now in nearly a decade and a half. Well, we're back. This is also the first time they're teeing off as ranked opponents in the AP poll since 2004. So it's been a while. One thing of note, Quinn Ewers' ankle injury, a little limited last week, did not look 100% when teeing it up against Kentucky, especially there at the end of the game. Watching that ankle closely will be something worth monitoring. But as a kid from Texas, there's just no way Quinn Ewers is not going to play in this game. I would imagine he'll do whatever it takes to make sure he is on the field representing the Longhorns in this one. Question number 1. Can Texas continue to build on their resurgent run game? Now, Quintravion Wisner and Jaden Blue, they have finally got the run game going for the first time in, it seems like a while against a quality defense. Now, I look at Kentucky and I think wondering whether or not Kentucky's as good or as talented as they might look on the surface. But Kentucky's been battling some injuries. Like, they were playing hard, and they were not at full strength against Texas, but they were closer to full strength than they were maybe against, say, Auburn. All right. Well, they ran for 250, Texas did. Wisner finished with a career-high 158 yards and a touchdown. Blue added nearly 100 himself on 15 carries, which is about 6.5 a carry, and a 5-yard touchdown. At one point, though, in the game, Texas is sitting there 24-14. Offense is going back on the field. Kind of need to put a drive together. What do? 86 yards, 15 consecutive run plays, took 8.5 minutes off the clock, 1-yard touchdown by Wisner to put the game on ice and give it back to Kentucky up 17 with 3 minutes left. I mean, that is what I want to see from the Longhorns moving forward. Now, Texas A&M, their defense is fresh off one of their worst performances of the year against the run against the Auburn Tigers. But overall, they haven't been terrible, but maybe they're not super elite. They're kind of a penetration group where they can get you behind the sticks by way of sacks and tackles for loss. But can they hold up against a traditional rushing attack is something I'll be watching closely. They give up just under 4 yards per carry. That's 53rd right now. One other problem for Texas when they run the football. Now, Jaden Blue, he had 2 fumbles last week, lost one of them. But so far this year, he has 7 fumbles. He's lost 3. As a team, the Texas Longhorns put the ball on the deck 6 times last week against Kentucky. So if they're going to run the football, stay committed to the run game, they better do a better job when it comes to ball security when they run the football. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, goodness gracious alive. Question number 2. Will Texas need the downfield throws? Now, we have talked a while about this when it comes to Texas. When it comes to, blocking them up, being more aggressive, pushing the ball downfield. Will that start to come out more and more as the level of competition increases? And my question here this week, will that be necessary? Because Texas right now is the 3rd ranked team in yards after catch. The only 2 teams better than them right now are Miami and North Texas. They have just under 2,000 yards after catch this season. And for Texas A&M, that's a massive area of concern. The Aggies are currently 114th in the FBS in yak allowed. They've given up 1,374 yards after catch this year. So A&M's weakness this season on the back end of the defensive unit has been tackling, getting guys to the ground, and crossing routes have been a huge problem. Well, guess what Texas does a lot of? And guess what Texas is great at? Yards after catch, crossing routes. Question number 3. Can Texas A&M, their pass rush, create major problems? Now, Texas's offensive line has been pretty dang solid all season long. Just 49 pressures given up. Now, they have at times struggled with penalties. Kelvin Banks, Cam Williams, they've combined for almost 20 penalties between the two of them. And the one game that Texas lost this year, that was against Georgia. Texas quarterbacks, both Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers, got hit on 1 out of 3 dropbacks. That's about 10 percentage points higher than any other game this year. So this is a really disruptive defensive front for A&M. They did not have their best stuff last week, and frankly, down the stretch, they haven't been as good the last few weeks. But they are a group that is still capable of taking over the game if your O-line doesn't play well. So worth monitoring that group as well. Question 4, can Texas A&M stay on schedule by running the football? The 2 games this year where Texas A&M averaged less than 3.5 yards per carry were their 2 most disappointing defeats. One at the hands of Auburn, one at the hands of South Carolina. When they rush for more than 4 yards a carry, they're 6-0, including when they rushed for nearly 5 yards a carry against LSU, 5.5 yards a carry against Florida, and 6.5 yards a carry against Missouri. So they're going to have to be really good along the offensive line. Marcel Reed's going to have to churn out some hard yards. Their running backs, Amari Daniels, going to have to be better with his vision and finding space there between the tackles. And I think they're going to probably have to get a little creative and use some sideline-to-sideline run game as well, involving Terry Bussey. Question number 5, can Texas A&M's tackles handle the speed and aggressiveness of Texas's defensive ends? Now, these 2 tackles for Texas A&M better be ready now. Trey Zune at left tackle, Demetrius Crownover at right tackle. These Texas defensive ends are super aggressive, which could be a little bit of a problem for the Aggies, especially on the right side. Now, Barron Sorrell, he leads Texas in pressures. He's been incredibly underrated for multiple years now, but is finally starting to get the recognition he deserves. Colin Simmons has 7 sacks this year. And then Anthony Hill, he's got amazing juice off the edge, but he can really blitz from anywhere. And there's a reason why 1 out of 3 of his pass rush attempts leads to pressures. And there's a reason why he leads the team in sacks. So keep an eye on those guys on the edges of the defense against the tackles of A&M, because that could be a huge problem for the Aggies. Question number 6, can Texas A&M's passing attack win some one-on-ones? Now, Marcel Reed dropped back 48 times against Auburn. I don't think that's a winning recipe against Texas. I thought he threw the ball really well for the most part. Threw it pretty well, and we've now seen that if he has to do it, he can deliver with his arm. He's proven that now with what he did last week. But now with their 3-headed monster at wide receiver, Jabari Barber, Jade Walker, Noah Thomas, he's coming off of one of the best games of his career. Every time they get near the red zone, they should throw one up in the end zone to Noah Thomas. He's 6'6". Let him go up and make a play. Maybe he can do it. Maybe draw a penalty against Texas. If nothing else, you're at least putting some fear in Texas that you'll take advantage of those one-on-ones when you have the chance. A&M has very solid weapons. I think they're actually slightly underrated. So I would expect those guys to find some space and maybe create some things with yards after catch on their own. Last week, Longhorns gave up 6 explosive pass plays against Kentucky. So that might be the path for A&M. Texas has not given up many explosive passes this year, but maybe this is the week where A&M has to get aggressive and they have to hit some downfield throws. These corners for Texas greatly improved. Jahdi Barron, Malik Muhammad have been really good on the outside. Mukuba's been a really nice addition as well. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that matchup is won in this game. Lastly, it's absolutely imperative that Texas A&M starts fast in this game. They are a resilient team, but when teams in the SEC are jumping out on A&M the way they've jumped out on them in the last 5 games, that's a huge problem. A&M has found themselves down by 10 points in their last 3 conference games. They've allowed the opponent to score first in 4 of the last 5 games. They're not a team that is built to come from behind, and because of the energy and the buildup of this game, it's really important for them to start fast so that crowd can remain energized for 60 minutes in the ball game. My pick in the game, and I've waffled here, I've gone back and forth. I just think Texas is too complete. I thought for sure the Aggies would be in position to get this one, but I'm finding myself more and more concerned about their ability to defend Texas wide receivers in catch and run situations, and I'm also a little concerned about the Aggies being able to hold up along the offensive line. I'm taking the Longhorns. I would lay the points, but I'm hoping it's a classic there in College Station.